Kildee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for recognizing me, and to you and the ranking member for holding this hearing. And thank you, Commissioner Werfel, for your testimony. I just want to start out by thanking you, and if you wouldn't mind conveying to your staff my gratitude. And when I mention your staff, I don't just mean your senior team that we most often interact with, but with every one of those IRS employees and all the field offices around the country who do a really tough job under difficult circumstances. In one of my past careers, I was the county treasurer, the tax collector for my county, and I know that typically when we are interacting with customers who are paying their taxes, they're not always having their best day. And I know it's a difficult job, and I just want you to convey my gratitude to them for the difficult work that they do, and the fact that in some cases they have to face I think unfair characterizations from some of the people that I work with here in this building. And I just want to express to you that I appreciate their work. I'd also like to thank you for the difficult work that you did during the pandemic, your team, because
Absolutely.
obviously you were not in that position. My constituents in mid-Michigan needed help getting in contact with the IRS just to deal with very simple issues. And I know we had some struggles there. And I think, thankfully, because of the investments that we have been able to make with the leadership of President Biden and congressional Democrats, the IRS is in a better position, much better prepared to provide the level of customer service that the American people deserve. And I know you're continuing to work to improve that, and I appreciate that very much. I'd also like to acknowledge the steps that you've taken to make this tax filing season easier for the people I represent by delaying the lower 1099-K reporting requirement. This delay will cut red tape for many taxpayers and allow the IRS to focus on ensuring that those wealthiest individuals that you have referred to a few times in this hearing and those largest corporations can no longer avoid paying the taxes that they owe. The investments that President Biden and Democrats made under the Inflation Reduction Act are also helping expand access to filing, and you've addressed this. I know it's been raised by a number of members, but as has been mentioned, this includes expanding the volunteer income tax assistance and the tax counseling for the elderly programs, which for years have helped the working families that I represent get their taxes filed without having to pay a fee. I understand the point my colleague makes, but I think the point that you make is that we don't ask people to pay a fee for access to those. They are supported by taxpayer dollars, but not an out-of-pocket fee in the moment that need is made. Those programs are operated locally by United Way back home for me. So the VITA and TCE programs are really important to me. And I wonder, particularly as helping people access the benefits that they deserve, the EITC and child tax credit. I wonder if you can describe the IRS plan to expand VITA and TCE and what effect you think this will have for the people I represent.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think there is a concerted effort under our modernization plan, we call it our strategic operating plan, to meet taxpayers where they are, and in particular, to figure out how we can connect with vulnerable populations to provide them assistance, often volunteer assistance, so that they have a better understanding of their tax obligations, but also what credits they may be eligible for that they're not receiving. How do we do that? First of all, I think it's absolutely important that we're on the ground. And so we're using new funding to open more walk-in centers, to extend the hours of those walk-in centers, to have Saturday hours, to have special events and taxpayer experience days. In those moments, we can really promote with other local leaders the presence of this opportunity to have a volunteer, and then other tax preparers to know that they can volunteer and be a part of our cadre of volunteers that are doing such important work. I mentioned earlier in the hearing, I participated in one such local event in Baltimore, Maryland, where you had local leaders, taxpayers, volunteers, all talking about the role of these VITA and TCE individuals in that organization and the impact that it's having. And we had taxpayers stand up and tell their stories and how life-changing it was to get the help. And we need to do more of that. Local news was there covering it. That means that we're getting more visibility into these services. Simple things that we can do, like just, for example, we recently created a new page on our website called Free Help, where we're trying to highlight and make it as easy as possible for taxpayers to learn more about these clinics and these volunteers. So there's a big investment and push to reach out to communities and make sure that the IRS is there. And I also mentioned protecting from scams, because it's typically, what's so heartbreaking about these scams and schemes is it's very often the vulnerable population that are exploited. Those that get that phone call from someone pretending to be the IRS, and they don't have an accountant to call to look into it, and they're scared. And I want an IRS that can be there for them to help them understand that this is a scam, and you need to be protected from it, and we want to be there to do that.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate your testimony. I appreciate the Chairman's indulgence. You have a tough job. The people at the IRS all have a difficult job. We have a difficult job, too. But at the end of the day, we all work for the same people, and I think we can continue to collaborate on ways to improve our service to them. I think we're all better off.
Yeah, and I don't think I've given enough credit in this hearing to the amazing workforce, the IRS, and you mentioned it. The work they did during the pandemic was, you know, I would say for them, they would say it's all in the brochure of being there when taxpayers need them. I think there's a lot of myths about the IRS. One that I learned as soon as I got there, IRS employees care deeply about serving taxpayers. They're passionate about it, and it's inspiring me every day.
Thank you. With that, I really appreciate the indulgence. I yield back.
Ms. Fishbach.